finding himself in multiple criminal trials. This is the beginning of it. This is the merch, if you will, for the year ahead. And I don't think any of us are really mentally prepared for the complications, the tests. Donald Trump in recent weeks, or in the last week, started to temper his language around January 6th and it being a stolen election, at least for a day. He seemed to be listening to his lawyers and was couching his language a little bit more cautiously. I don't think that's going to last. And I think what we're going to have to sort of manage as a democracy, as journalists, as just onlookers to history is the ways in which this individual mugshotted here is going to test what is legally allowed for him to say as a defendant and as a candidate. I think the justice system is going to be tested like never before. I think our ability to tenaciously follow this as Americans, given the onslaught of information we are diving into. I mean, I will tell you, 2 days ago, I was managing, 3 different legal filings in 3 different cases. That's what the year ahead is going to look like, only it's 4 plus. And, truly, we have no idea how it ends. In some ways, I think as journalists, that's exciting. But as an American who is used to institutions and the integrity of those institutions, it is also terrifying. And to me, that is the picture that sets it all in motion.
And it strikes me when you're saying that, Alex, that this is probably a tentpole moment, kind of an apex moment for Donald Trump in terms of the iconography and the ability to stage manage this and the ability to get the kind of media coverage the way you want to get it at the time you want to get it. I mean, this is the last time, as far as we know, that he's going to be turning himself in to be arrested. Presumably the first and only time we're going to be having a mugshot from him released until he gets in court in what we think will be televised proceedings, specifically in the Georgia case. There's going to be kind of a trough in terms of down from this moment, in terms of how much he can control and how much this is something that he can stage manage for effect. This picture, he gets to do it, and the way he chooses to comport himself in his first televised trial will be another moment like that. But between now and then, it's going to be a lot of court filings and a lot of unglamorous stuff that is not on his timetable and a lot of verbiage from his lawyers and a lot of money put out in legal fees. And none of that is going to be glamorous or anything that he's going to be able to easily, I think, turn to his advantage, or at least to cast in the way that he wants to be seen.
But, like a bridge, right? You have Jim Jordan holding up a post to announce today an investigation into phony LS from his phony. Right, so he's got the 7 of the 8 Republican candidates who raised their hand, and so, he's got. Yes, there will be a lot of things suspended between, but because he has linked these things together, his candidacy isn't about making America great again anymore. That's not what he's running on this time. He is running on his freedom. He is running to make his supporters his human shields. That's it. It's the whole message.
Well, it's about to render the American constitutional Republican structure of judicial independence null and void for the purpose of getting him off the hook.
But he doesn't know that part of the sentence, right? I swear, he doesn't.
But it was a lot of syllables, I know. But he needs to make illegitimate the legal
to be free.
In order to be free. And since that's the immediate impediment that he's facing, the threat of jail and all of the other bad things that come with all these criminal prosecutions, the thing that is threatening him must be cut off at the knees. And so we are about to embark on a national project of trying to save the Republic against a movement beholden to him, a national Republican Party unable to escape him as their leader, that exists for the sole purpose of destroying one of the 3 legs of the stool of the American constitutional republic so he doesn't have to go to the pokey. That's what we're about to do as a country.
But, it might end with almost a whimper for Trump, though, because Kenneth Chesebro, the person who, remember when we were always looking up who's Kenneth Chesebro? He wasn't even in the fun narrative of the Eastmans and everyone else with the big names. If his trial goes in October, let's just say it happens, it is going to show a lot of the case. And I was one of those people who I didn't really care about the Murdoch trial, but then I watched the documentary. I was actually shocked that guy, got convicted, but it was the trial. It was the fact the trial was on TV. I do believe they broadcast bypass the trials in Georgia. And so what we're all going to see, whether it's Trump's trial or it's just Cheeseboro's trial, we're going to get to see if they're going to play the perfect phone call. I'm just going to need you to find me 11,776 votes. The evidence will be televised. Donald Trump is going to get his ultimate reality TV show moment, whether it's in his own trial or in that guy's trial or in that group of people's trial. That trial in October could be the beginning of the end of the big lie, because it's hard to look away from and continue to believe the falsity when the trial is happening and there's no filter. There's no us. We're not the ones telling you. It's his Republican friends. It's all their voices. They're all Republicans. And I think the same way that the January 6th hearings, it didn't move everybody. But there were some people that said, you know what? He did it. And in the case of, there were Trumpers on the E. Jean Carroll trial, enclosed in that space, that judicial space, even some MAGA people on the jury said, he did it. And I think that we might actually be in for a positive reckoning because of the way Georgia operates.
The other thing to remember as we head into the sort of split screen Alex was talking about with the trials and the election, and obviously the election looming, right? I mean, the cataclysm he's shooting for is like he gets elected president again, and then like he's running on a platform, to your point, Rachel, of like, I'm going to finish the job I started on January 6th. Almost explicit. Like, I am, like, we started on January 6th, and we're going to finish it off if you get me back in there. American politics is a game of inches, man. Everyone starts at about 44, 45%, and, you know, a percent or two here. You don't need some enormous sea change repudiation of Donald Trump for political
That happens in history. Right.
You don't need that for it to be a electoral catastrophe for the Republican Party. If 5 to 10% of Republicans, real Republicans, are like, I'm done, I'm out, that's a huge problem. You don't need, persuasion happens in the margins, and I do think that, like, not all of this is priced in. A trial for him isn't priced in. A possible verdict, I don't think he's going to, like, be in the pokey when Election Day happens. I don't think all that's priced in. I think that persuasion happens in the margins, and I still think there are persuadable people that this guy is uniquely malevolent force in American politics and can never be anywhere near the seat of power ever again.
Well, and the ratings last night for the Fox debate suggest that there are Republicans who are alternative curious.
Yeah,
A lot of people watch.
a lot of people, way more people watched, I think, than were expected, and that was a Trump-free Republican debate without a lot of skilled debating. I just want to mention we did just get a new statement from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. This is interesting. It's media advisory, election fraud defendants booking update. Moments ago, defendant Donald J. Trump surrendered to authorities at the Fulton County Jail in Georgia. Mr. Trump's bond order and stipulations are the result of negotiations between the district attorney's office and his attorneys. It's expected that the remaining 7 defendants named in the Georgia election interference indictment will surrender by tomorrow, Friday, August 25th, 2023. Again, 7 defendants have to submit themselves, have to surrender by noon tomorrow or face arrest. Sheriff Patrick Labatt would like to thank his sworn and civilian staff at the Fulton County Sheriff's Office and all officers with our law enforcement partners for carrying out their duties as prescribed by law with integrity and consummate professionalism. Added security will remain in place at the Fulton County Jail, at Fulton County. Officers will also continue to ensure a safe space for protesters. However, anyone who breaks the law will be arrested and face appropriate consequences. That statement tonight from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, who's been with us tonight from outside the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. Vaughn, I just want to ask what you're hearing from the Trump campaign or from Trump allies this evening, their reaction to this remarkable series of events.
Right, look at that photo. We're talking about, as a Trump ally just told me, what will go down is, in his words, the most iconic photograph in American history. That is a close Trump ally. When we're talking about Donald Trump and what this image evokes here, I travel around this country going to most of Donald Trump's campaign events, meeting what I would call the potent minority in this country. There are plenty of persuadable Republicans, there are plenty of anti-Trump Republicans, but there are millions of diehard loyalists. And when you talk about Donald Trump and what he evokes in that image, but also in his conversation with Tucker Carlson last night, I want to read you one specific quote from Donald Trump last night. It was this, quote, "There's a level of passion that I've never seen there's a level of hatred that I've never seen. And that's probably a bad combination. I've been covering this man on the road for 8 years, and I don't think Donald Trump is wrong. There may be fewer Trump supporters now, but they are more passionate. And what Donald Trump has suggested is a potentially open conflict. Yesterday, Tucker Carlson put to him multiple times a question about a potential civil war, open conflict, and he did not bat it down a single time. And when you guys were talking, Nicole, you were talking about how Donald Trump has used the American people as his own shield. In large part, he is telling them that he is also their shield. When we talk about pardons, it was Donald Trump who gave pardons to Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, other close allies. Just a couple years ago, I stood in the office of former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. That man in Maricopa County, he had the pardon that Donald Trump gave him for criminal contempt of court framed in his office. In large part, Donald Trump has been a shield for so many in power in this American political system over the last years. And so for Donald Trump, what is so unique about the state of Georgia is there is nobody here to pardon him. And when we watched him go into this jail, he faces serious charges that will ultimately go to trial. And when you're talking about his allies, they will use this to their political advantage because that is the only option that they have. They need to galvanize that potent minority in the Republican electorate to give him a shot at winning back the White House. As we go around this country, folks openly talk about civil war to me, and they mean it because they're concerned and they see the frustrations over what they believe has been a taken of their own democracy and their defense of Donald Trump.
Well, in those conversations that you're describing, are you hearing any resentment or even sort of gallows humor or resignation about Trump continuing to ask his small dollar donors to fund his criminal defense?
No, we have seen millions of dollars continue to pour in. For Donald Trump, I think it's important to note there's text messages that go out, and I've watched folks on their phone go and click on that button to donate. The emails that are coming in, when they go and donate, 90% of that goes to the 2024 campaign, but that other 10% that folks are making in donations are going to Save America PAC, his leadership PAC, which has been used to pay off legal services for not only Donald Trump, but others who were at the heart of the January 6th investigation. The last FEC filing here this summer showed that there were just a few $1 million in that account after having tens of millions of dollars at the beginning of the year. The funds are drying up, and that is where you see frustration from these other 18 co-defendants. One of those being Jenna Ellis, the fact that there is not money that is being put out for Donald Trump. Suddenly the man that used to claim that he was the billionaire is suddenly working through troubles that some key individuals who could very well work with prosecutors against him. The funds, frankly, do not seem to be there to help in their own defense.
Yeah, which may end up being counter-strategic as he heads toward a unified RICO indictment, no matter how many of these defendants are tried together all at once. Vaughn Hilliard for us at Fulton County Jail. Vaughn, thank you. Lawrence, former President Trump has been assigned inmate number P as in Peter, 011358809. So he's that. He's also individual one. I feel like we've got sort of all these little criminal justice system touchstones for him now. But the sort of crass common denominator of everything we're talking about here is how to turn those things into not just fundraising fodder, but some sort of badge of honor against the criminal justice system itself, which is some sort of bad thing that needs to be dismantled.
Well, yeah, because he cannot admit humiliation or defeat, he takes a day like today, which is humiliating, and he pretends, I'm the boss of the way things are working today. Look at me, and I'm doing this for you. But we've been sharing the screen with that photograph of Donald Trump, that mugshot of Donald Trump. And one of the rituals of the second-term presidency is a significant number of hours spent posing for your presidential portrait. If you're a one-term president, you usually haven't done that, and so you pose for your presidential portrait after your one term. There is Donald Trump's presidential portrait. There will be no picture of Donald Trump that lives longer or is seen by more people in the history of the world than that picture, which people will be looking at 300 years from now as the picture of the 45th President of the United States.
Can I just ask a visual presentation question about this? I'm not skilled at this, but is there something weird going on at the tip of his nose?